Ah, who doesn't love a second attempt at recording a YouTube video, eh? I've only been doing it for 2 years, but I still get settings wrong when I press the record button, so last 15 minutes of my life ruined, out the window, gone. But what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm sure the title's grabbed your attention a little bit, so I want to give you a little bit of backstory before we dive too deep into this. Now, in MX Bikes, if I come over to the settings tab and we go to our simulation page here, why it's just gone black for a second, I don't know. I apologise. If I go over to here, you can see I have lean help off. As do probably like 90% of the community, to be fair. I know a lot of casual players have it on. What it does is if you have it turned on, I think it just stops you leaning over too far and then just flopping around like a fish on the floor. I have it off because I feel like it restricts me in terms of corner speed. So if you're newer to the game, maybe you've got a few couple hundred hours before your muscle memory's really sank in, I would recommend turning this off and learning without it. Obviously, I've got some scummy stuff like brake help because my left trigger finger is awful compared to my throttle. But what I want to show you is something that a couple of the top boys in the pro scene use that. First of all, it's outrageous, by the way. I'll show you gameplay of it and me playing at the same time once I turn it on. It's so difficult, but once you master it, your speed's just insane. And I'll mention some people that prove that as we get going. If you've been putting off buying that new MX gear or you're just looking for some new daily MX related clothing, then head on over to fxrracing.com. Code MXPR_Lins15 at checkout will give you 15% off all motocross and lifestyle products. This code is applicable to the European, Swedish and Norwegian websites, not Canada or the USA. And whilst I've got your attention, you may as well subscribe to the channel. It's just one click of a button and it puts a big old smile on my face. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So if I go over to my Piboso MX Bikes folder here and I load up profiles, and this will be named whatever for you, whatever your profile is called. If you go down to profile here, we right click on it and we open it with Notepad or Notepad++. It gives us all of our like behind the scenes settings. If I do Control and F to start searching, if I type in lean help, it would help if I could spell as one word, press enter. It will take me down to here under the aid section. Now, usually, it's set at 1 if you have it off in-game. If you have it on in-game, it's set to 2. However, there is a third option, which is 0, which you can't do in-game, so that there's a little bit of question about if it should even be allowed. However, if I save this and load up my game, we're going to load up a track, and I'm going to show you exactly what this setting does. Alright, so before we even do any sort of riding or turning here, I want to explain this to you. So usually, I just go into game and I have my lean help off. It is what it is. You notice that if you look at my controller overlay, if I turn left in a corner, and then if I want to straighten the bike up, I'll usually just like let go of the stick and it will slowly come back to centre. Alternatively, say you're on a track like Washougal, which in the middle track it's got that sharp 180 left, 180 right back to back. If I turn left and then I turn back right afterwards, it would progressively move from one side to the other. However, with our lean help here set to 0, whatever is input in my left stick is exactly what the bike will do. So if I turn left here and then I really sharply want to turn right, you can see it's very aggressive. So 100% what is going on in my stick is what is going on with my biking in game. There's no like dampening at all. There's no smoothing out of your steering. It is completely one-to-one. So if I jam it side to side, it's really aggressive. Now, some of you might think, like, this is absolutely ridiculous. What's the point of this? There are a few pros to this and a lot of cons, to be fair, which will all just come with game time and trying to get used to it. Biggest pros are it helps you be a lot more precise in following ruts, because if you see a rut is slightly starting to tighten up a little bit, you can just turn that little bit extra on your stick and it'll be exactly one-to-one as what you're doing. Probably make you feel a lot more in tune with your bike overall. It can also help you scrub. Like, I've seen some people do some absolutely disgusting scrubs with these settings, but it is something you have to get used to, because a lot of time early days at least, it'll result you just doing a 360. I do want to put a little disclaimer out there that I myself do not use these settings. When I discovered them originally, or when they kind of came to light that some people were using them, I already had about 2,000 hours in this game, and I've tried for a couple of hours multiple times to get used to these. I don't think it's something that I can ever remove from my muscle memory, because I've not only did I have 2,000 hours in bikes when I learned about it and tried it, I also had probably like 4,000 or 5,000 hours in all of my years of MX Simulator as well, where you also have like a slow progressive turning system, not exactly one-to-one to your analog stick. if I was to tell you that Earls use this setting, I'm sure some more of you would believe me that it can make you incredibly quick at the game. Now, whether Hurls discovered this and started using this very early on in his MX Bytes career, I don't know. He's not really about anymore to ask these questions to. However, once some of the other top pro guys discovered that it was a thing, I know, for example, Ryder started using it throughout Supercross, and he had some of his best performances after getting used to it. It's something that I've tried a few times. For the most part, I can get around the track fairly smoothly. However, every now and then, there's just that muscle memory that's ingrained into my head will completely ruin it for me. So what I mean by that is if I'm slowly turning right in this corner, usually I'll just let go of the stick and it would bring itself back up central. You saw there that it does that same thing now, but really aggressively. So a lot of time it causes the wheels to fall out from underneath you. So now not only do you have to progressively turn into a corner, you then have to progressively release that same input back to centre so your bike doesn't flop the other direction. So when I discovered that Hurls uses this, I was kind of a bit dumbfounded after trying it myself. I was like, how on earth does he play like this? Like, it's so delicate and sensitive. And it just kind of blew my mind that he was able to go that fast and that consistently on these settings. But I think it goes to show that it doesn't matter what your setup is, whether it's controller, keyboard, what inputs you have, what your different assists are. If you spend long enough at something, you can be good on anything. I mean, I'm going to throw back a little bit to Jeremy Smith, who does a lot of the 450 racing in the AMA Outdoor season. He went for a period of time, I don't know what his injury was, he done something to one of his hands or wrists, but he played MX Simulator on a flight stick and still done disgustingly well on it, which I can't fathom. And I also want to shout out people like Ricky Russell, for example. Like, Ricky he's disabled and he plays MX bikes with a device that he puts in his mouth, for crying out loud. Like, what that tongue do? He won't mind me saying that because he is a laugh and he makes fun of himself, to be fair. But it's really, really impressive to see what people can do under different settings. Now, this isn't going to be one of them settings that you turn on and overnight you drop your lap times by 5 seconds. To be honest, for the first couple of weeks, you'll probably lose time by 5 seconds. But I am a firm believer of if you put enough time and effort into learning it, you will be better at the game than you ever have been. I would say that, let's say you've got 500 hours in MX Bytes. I think if you was to erase all of those and do them same 500 hours with these as your inputs, you would probably be faster than where you're at now. Unless you're like a super casual gamer and maybe you've got 500 hours on bikes after having it for like 3 or 4 years, maybe you just don't play much at all, then I can understand why you'd want some of them more chilled out, tame settings. I mean, it might sound a bit hypocritical, but I'm never going to make the switch full time to this. I'm comfy with where I am. I'm only really like 2 seconds or so off pace at any given time, and I get the occasional outdoors race where maybe like skills or something like that pops off and is 5 seconds faster, but for the most part I'm still within the ballpark, you know. I don't know if skills uses these. Again, the only 2 examples that I know of off the top of my head is Hurls and Ryder. I probably should have asked some people, to be fair, before I even pressed the record button. That probably would have helped me get all my facts right, wouldn't it? However, one thing that it's really, really good for is just how fast and low you can scrub. Like, you can get absolutely sideways and still bring it back around pretty damn quickly too. Now, using Hurls as an example, when all throughout the entirety, can't even speak properly, of the 2023 Supercross season, I find that I'd take exactly the same rhythms as him. Like, we'd take the same lines in the corners. I was very comfortable with my corner speed. The real place that he would ever gain time on me was in the long rhythm sections. So if we take a track like Anaheim 1, for example, it had a long rhythm section which was literally just triple, 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 triple. So 4 triples back to back. But there's not really much else you can do there in terms of creativity of lines. There was no quads that were on, in-game at least. So where he gained all of his time was just staying disgustingly low to the ground. And now it turns out that these are the settings that we use. It makes sense. Now, I would try and throw some absolute fatty whips for you right now. However, I have a massive feeling that it's just going to end up turning into 360s, which no one wants to see. Like, I mean, I could try and scrub it a little bit, but because my my muscle memory is so used to how hard I would usually input for a scrub, I end up just doing it way over the top, like far too much overkill. But what I do want you to do is, before anyone like kind of comments on this video, like saying if it's good or not, what I do want to find out is, well, first of all, go and give it a go, and not just for 5 minutes. Spend like half an hour to an hour on it, and try and progress slowly. You know, don't just go in guns blazing, trying to go as fast as you possibly can, like all your normal lines, because it's not going to work out for you. As I said, I've tried to learn this multiple times, but only ever for like an hour max at a time. And with the footage that you're seeing right now, like of me riding, like this is all live comm still, by the way. This is honestly the best I've ever played with it. I guess it's because I'm trying to be a bit more reserved and not trying to go a million miles an hour, so my standard muscle memory hasn't taken over just yet. But my god, like some of the times I've tried this, it's been so much more painful than this. But one other question that I want to ask, which I'm very interested to see people's opinions on, is how do you feel about modifying game files behind the scenes that aren't changeable in-game? So, like I said in the intro, you can either have lean help on or lean help off in-game, and that's it. Having it on is a value of 1, having it off is a value of 2. However, we've now put it on 0, so there's no help whatsoever. Now, I asked the question in the Proboso dev chat before on this, and I don't think it ever got a response, to be fair. But my question was, if it's something that can be edited, and you can do this on multiplayer, by the way, it's not like if you go in and change tyre values or rider weight, and you can only do it in testing. This is, like, you can do this on a server if you want. Obviously, Hurls uses it. I used it in Supercross, like, you can use it online. My question was, if it's in the files and it can be edited, why isn't it an option that you can change in-game as well? Why does it take word of mouth and people passing it around to find this out? So, I think one of two things can happen. One is make it so it's not changeable at all, so you can't even do it. Or two is if it's meant to be like a part of the game that you should be able to change, that should be open to everyone, include it in the settings. You know, I think adding it could be a good thing overall. It just opens the door to more customization options. Now, I've not changed any of my other settings in-game other than this in the file. So I've still got my direct lean in game set to about 50. I don't know if this overwrites it at all. I've got like all of my standard leaning, linearity and smoothness and all that. Still the same as it ever has been. I imagine that if this is maybe a little bit too over the top, you could probably go in and change a whole bunch of settings to make it a little bit more mellow. Again, that's something that would be nice to see in an update in the future. Same as when it comes to settings like rider weight that you can change behind the scenes. It'd be nice if that's something that maybe you could change in Garage in settings or setup. But all I can see happening there is there'd be a meta, same as there's meta bikes, for example, and one weight would be better than all the others and everyone would just run it anyway. Same as when I see people asking for like a whole shot device to be added to the game. It's like, well, it's a cool concept, but it doesn't really change anything because everyone will just run it, you know, like there'll be no pros and cons one way or the other. It'll just be, it's either a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm very interested to see where other people stand on this. Is, do you think people should be allowed to modify their game files and join online, or do you think that if it's not in the settings within the game to change, it's cheating in a way? I don't consider this one cheating. Obviously, tyres and stuff like that and world records that are done in testing rather than online, always got to take them with a little bit of pinch of salt, because there's nothing really you can do to prevent that sort of thing other than kind of locking game files. But then we wouldn't have half of the mods that we do these days, like the OEM packs tyre mods, for example, like that you wouldn't be able to do stuff like that. So there's pros and cons for sure. So I want you guys to go and give this a go. Spend about half an hour to an hour on it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think it would be a hindrance to you, or if once you dedicate a bit more time to it, you could see yourself being faster. I'm probably not the best subject ever to show this off, because it's not something that personally suits me. I don't think Hurls has any YouTube videos anymore. I think he kind of deleted everything when he pieced the scene. I'm not sure if any of his Twitch VODs are still about anymore. But if you didn't know who he was, if you're new to the game, say within the beginning of this year, he was an animal. I would say probably the fastest in terms of raw speed. Skills is good, but Hurls was that good, plus more consistency. Like, it really was disgusting, which again blows my mind that he was able to do that on with these settings involved. But that'll do it for me. I just wanted to kind of open your eyes a little bit, open your horizons, and just give you guys some more customization options. And I hope you give it a go, and I'm interested to know what you think. Do drop a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Help me out with the algorithm, because the last few videos I've done have been a little bit of an L, I can't lie. It's been a little bit of a struggle the last week or so. But I appreciate all of the love nonetheless. Everyone that keeps coming back to each and every video, thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you're up to. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.